All right, guys. In the spirit of Mental Health Awareness Month, it's really important to shape the mental health of your child. Even in toddlerhood, especially in toddlerhood, this is important. Now, what you think is trivial is huge to your child. Yes, it happens very frequently, and yes, they will learn to cope and figure out how to get around it. And yes, you will make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. But it's important to try to strive for better every time. Here are a couple examples that come to mind. You're trying to buckle a very frustrated child in the car because they're late for school or you're late for work, or a combination of both. You're trying to get your child to sit down at meal times because it's mealtime and you don't want them to be running around with food in their mouth or end up eating right before bedtime and extending their bedtime by like 3 hours. All true stories. You're trying to change their diaper because they pooped and they're really absorbed in whatever they're doing. You're trying to stop your kids from fighting if they're siblings because they're fighting over some toy. Or, they don't want to wear a specific pair of shoes or pants or hats or shirts. It's all happened before. Now, if you snap, it's not the end of the world. Snapping's better than hitting. But make sure you go back and apologize right away. Because your child, in toddlerhood especially, understands emotions more than they understand words. Wow, what is that person's problem? Number one, your child understands emotions more than they understand words. Truth be told, adults understand emotions more than they understand words. They understand body language more than they understand words. Words are things that come out of the mouth, and when they match up with the emotions and body language, it works out better, but you could tell when somebody's on edge. Sidebar over. So make sure your body language and how you say things kind of line up with what you're saying. That is a challenge here. So that's something you're gonna have to work at. Now, I talked about this before, the NINO acronym. Narrate the problem, identify with your child, then help them navigate through those desires, validate them, then give them options. It's not always going to go over smoothly. Your child will still probably cry and cry for a long time, but then they will feel that they can trust you. So that's the blunt truth. And you'll see these come across your feed all the time, like, don't do this, don't do that. And some are very valid points and some are like, how is that real life? So here's the ugly truth. It's not always gonna go your way, but you're still gonna have to try to, facilitate those things because it builds that connection. Later on in life, when your child has had a whole lifetime building up to, their 8s, 9s, 10s, their preteens, their teens, and into adulthood, if they've been validated every time that you say no, so there's a good reason, and they still feel loved, then they're more likely to trust you and trust themselves. They're more likely to trust their emotions. If you invalidate them and make that a habit, that's a learned thing for them. So really keep that in mind. And if you can't grasp this, that's okay. Because a lot of the times, us growing up, the prior generations did not have access to this data and information and care in the mental health world that we do. Nowadays, it's much more accepted and better known to do these things, to make sure everyone is seen, felt, heard, understood, and make sure your child gets that opportunity too. It may not be mirroring what you had exactly. It may be a far cry. It may be very similar, but try to offer that and make no mistake, it's really important. So give that a try. Validate your kids' emotions in the face of those stressful situations, especially in those stressful situations. Know that it's not going to go your way sometimes and be okay with it.